Authentic, important conversations help us understand life and relationships better and make us feel connected. Those connections build a community where you belong because your contributions matter. That's why Shelley and Toby are bringing you news and views. Join us to explore ideas, news, opinions, experiences, and real-life stories. Live on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Come chat about life with your friends.
Which, of course, is better than chatting about life with your enemies. So let me get my banners on here. Let's see. That's Women Conquer Podcasting, but it's not subscribed as a message. Here we go. Live, yes, live. Give me a second. Where the heck is it? Here's some views right there. There it is. So if you have any comments to make, of course, make them in the chat room. But before you go tonight, please take a moment to like our program. YouTube likes it when you like our program. We get to grow the channel. Share with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, the entirety of your social network so that we can grow the channel. Finally, if you are not already a subscriber, please take a moment to subscribe. And when you see that bell, ring the bell. What am I? Ring the bell, the notifications bell. And that way, every time we schedule a live stream or we start a live stream, you'll be immediately informed. And as a result, in the know. In addition to that, the super chat light is lit. So if you'd like to contribute to our little project here, please go down to the bottom of the chat window. You'll see a stylized but grayed out $sign. Click on that $sign, and the good folks at YouTube will walk you through the process of making your contribution. In addition to that, we have recently discovered that we also qualify for something called Super Thanks. So if you go to one of our older videos, say you just happen to be looking at the Forrest, Fenn, and Moby Dickens video. Below the video, you'll see a little heart with a $sign in it, which I think is a wonderful combination of mnemonics. Little heart with a $sign, click on that, and you'll be able to make a small contribution. Say thank you for leaving up this Forrest, Fenn at Moby Dickens video, Toby. That's very thoughtful of you. So Shelley is not here tonight. She's with her mom in Arizona. She's having a good visit. I've spoken to her a couple of times. The good thing is Kevin, Shelley's husband, came over today, and I had to change some fire alarm batteries and one light bulb in my kitchen, and the ceilings are what do you call it, angled. So they're like 12, 14 feet high. And I always like somebody spotting me when I'm doing this stuff. So Kevin came over to help me with that. It was very kind. Actually, he ended up going up. He figured, well, you know what? I'd rather go up than have this guy fall on me. So he decided to go up and change batteries and change lights and things like that. And he was in very good spirits. I got to tell you, he's come through his both the chemotherapy and the radiation therapy, just outstanding. I know people who suffer through that, and it takes some months to recover. He didn't lose any hair, and he looks good, and he sounds good, and he's just, I love, I love how healthy he looks now. And of course, he can go on. Shelley and he are talking about his retiring. He's going to go back to work, I think, week after next. And he's got to go he's going to take 2 days off right away because he has doctor visits and things like that he has to take care of. And then I guess they'll make a decision about whether or not and when they're going to retire. Because I think that was an option that he finally realized was viable. So, so keep an eye out for things. So the plan for tonight is I'm going to start with some pictures because I got the cutest baby pictures. Start with some pictures, and I made a trip to Santa Fe and picked up some documents. Oh, I wanted to share that with you. Hold on. Let me do that first. Give me a sec. Because I'm doing this all by myself tonight, and you know me, I'm kind of a wreck. So I'm going to go back here and we're going to share this. So I'm going to put this link. I'm going to put this link in the chat window, and that way you guys can share the. Let me make sure anyone with a link can view, copy link. And that way, if you want to look at the documents yourself, you're perfectly welcome to download them from this that I'm going to give you. I'm going to put that in the chat room right now. Okay. So feel free. Oh, why is that in the way there? So I like it better when Shelley's here because she's keeping an eye on things. Okay. So that's the Google Drive that contains all the documents that I'm going to talk about tonight. All right. There were 6 of them, and there's a lot going on. And it looks like the estate is moving to kind of clear some things up. So I think it'll be a good one. Masking later, folks. I was going to set up a poll and I didn't get a chance. Let's see. It depends how late. The latest ones that I have, Christy, were, let's see. Hang on. I need to go. Let me go look at the case file and I'll tell you if I picked them up or not. Just give me 1 second here. And I can tell you. As a matter of fact, I'll put this up here and I'll share it with you guys so you can see what I'm doing here. So let's go here. So we're just going to tell the guys that I'm not a robot. We're going to look at the case number. And I've done this so many times, all I have to do is select it. So, oops. That case number search. So, yes. So I got, well, it doesn't show anything. These were all filed on the 12th. So I got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because the one on 5/11 I had already, that was from last week. So it doesn't indicate that there's new information unless it hasn't been filed. It could be the kind. I know that that Mr. McCracken occasionally will file a document from that he's received from the attorneys that haven't been filed, but he's required, it's required they inform him. So sometimes he posts them to his website. So let me pull that away from here. And actually, let me go look and see if he's actually posted anything. I'll check that too. See if he's got anything, and I'll put him in the, he usually makes them available for download. He does have another page out there. So give me a second so we can make sure that we're kind of up to date. No, he doesn't have any new documents posted on his. Let me check. So I don't see anything on there. So Christy, if you know about the documents and you can tell me where they, because they haven't been posted to the case file yet. So I picked up everything that was in the case file, and that's what you're going to see. That's what you're seeing here right now. But first, let's look at some pictures. So Instagram account, you got to see some pictures here. First of all, we have a brand new grandbaby, number 15 in the family. He was born day before yesterday. His name is Ramses Ford Fernandez de Castro, and that's his brother next to him, Ragnar James Fernandez de Castro. They're getting used to each other, I guess. He was 9 pounds, 6 ounces and born healthy. And he was actually, they had to actually induce it because this is my youngest daughter, Toby Renee, and she's the smallest. And they were getting worried that the baby was getting too big. So, yeah. So, new baby, new grandbaby, number 15. We're very proud. Very proud, very proud. But I did want to share some other photos with you. Let me close this. So when I was in Santa Fe yesterday, I wanted to get some additional shots. So this is the view from the front of the district court. And I posted this to Instagram, and one of my nieces, my only niece, wrote me and she said, "Why were you in court?" They call me Poppy. "Why were you in court, Poppy?" I said, "No, I was just there doing some business." That's the old Capitol building across the way. They flags are half-staffed because in recognition of the fact that we've lost 1 million people to the coronavirus. So that's that view. It's a lot of fun. And then after I went to the court, I went over to Collected Works. I didn't see anybody that I recognized, but one of the ladies who was helping me recognized me. She said, "Hi, Toby." So they remembered me from the days when I go do that kind of work. It was kind of quiet, but in a good way. There were people, drinking our coffee. I've noticed that over to one side here, they put up a chess table, which I may go back and just kind of see if anybody's up for a chess game. And then I decided to buy a couple of Forrest Fenn's books. And I got these two. I got the Historic American Indian Dolls, and the Teepee Smoke, which I didn't have. And it is the second edition. It's the second one that he did. Yeah, Maui, the statute of limitations has run out on me. It ran out after sometime about the time that I retired. So I'm good. I'm good. They are cute babies, aren't they? Just adorable, and it's cute. What's really funny is Toby Renee is the baby in the family. I'm like, she's what? Let's see, she would be 30. She just turned 33, but she's the baby, and she's always been treated by the baby. But she's always been kind of a tomboy and a jock, and she's getting boys. And Erica, the sister that's just older than her, is kind of the girly girl in the family, and she's got 2 girls. And then Ryan Marie, who's older than Erica, likes them all. She has 4 now, and it's 2 boys and 2 girls. So it's just cute to see them all together. They get to visit together. And then the last but not least, so I found out something about Santa Fe. So I like taking drone shots wherever I go someplace. And unfortunately, Santa Fe isn't very photogenic from the air. And I think because it doesn't have any tall buildings, that's let me see, where did I had the roundhouse. I put the roundhouse in the picture. So there was so there's the roundhouse right there. And so there's the Capitol building. That's the flags that I just showed you. But it's I guess because it's like low to the ground. There aren't a lot of tall buildings in Santa Fe. And when I was in Washington, there used to be a rule in D.C. that you couldn't build any building higher than the statue that sits atop the Capitol, and it's Lady Freedom. Everybody thinks it's Lady Justice, but it's not. It's Lady Freedom. And so Santa Fe must have some kind of weird requirement that they can't build a building that's so tall. No, the fires are further north. As a matter of fact, I made some. The fires right now, it looks like they've tamped down the ones in Hemis, the ones around Hemis. They're still smoking. And as a matter of fact, when I was up there last week, Santa Fe was kind of clouded in a brown smoke as a result of the Hemis fires, because they were blowing straight towards Santa Fe. But the one in Mora got bigger, and I did take a picture of it. I didn't upload it because it wasn't really that good a picture. But the one around Mora is, you can see it from Santa Fe. You can see it when you look east-northeast of Santa Fe. You can see the big cloud of smoke. But none of those are near us in Albuquerque or Bernalillo in my case. So we're not experiencing any of it. There was a small one up in the Sandias at the beginning of the season, but they tamped that down real quick. So, and then, so I wanted to show this. So that's Santa Fe, and then I compared it to like my little Bernalillo. Like this is the town that I live in, and it's just got a lot of things. It's got the Sandia Mountains and the blue skies and the Rio Grande River in the foreground. That straight line back there is I-25, and that's where you get onto Santa Ana Pueblo land, and it's all protected there, so there's no building or anything. Although they do have I noticed they have a vineyard now right here that's run by the Gruet family. So I like my little town. I like my little Bernalillo. It's a good looking town. It looks good. Drone shots always look good with Bernalillo. So I do have the books. I haven't opened them yet. And the funny part, so whenever I've bought books, I've gone to buy books. Let's go back here so you guys can take a look at these. So these are the 2 that I bought. And there are no inexpensive Fenn books. They're all in the $100 range now. And I always ask, are they signed? And the woman that was helping me said, no, not anymore. Because you could ask, you could say, can I get the signed ones? And sometimes they kept them in the back and they bring them forward. Yeah. And she said the family has bought all the signed books and they have them. So I don't know. I guess they'll put them up at auction or something, or put them on AbeBooks. You know, you can put them on eBay. There's a dozen different ways if they're signed. These aren't. All my other Forrest Fenn books are signed, but these aren't. And the only time that this is the first time I've been back to the collected work since I bought a second copy of The Secrets of San Lazaro. And the reason I bought a second copy is because Jason was over one day and he was looking at it and he said, "Oh, I need to buy this. It's such a beautiful book." And I gave it to him. So I gave him my original copy, but I found they still had signed copies. So I was able to get a second one that was signed. So they're such good books. You know, I read the San Lazaro. I have a new mission in life. And my new mission in terms of the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt is I'm going to see if I can get some drone shots of San Lazaro. Now, it's on private property, and I don't even know precisely where it is. That's the kind of money I'm going to start the research. I'm going to go up to Santa Fe again and go to the BLM office and get some of the detailed maps of the area and see what I can find out about the property and whether it's close to public roads, because I can launch from a public road and fly over anything because nobody owns the airspace. So I can fly over it. The only place you can't fly is on Pueblo property, and this is not Pueblo property. So that's kind of my goal for the next year, is to see if I can get some footage from San Lazaro, maybe share them with the people that own the property now. Okay, let's talk. Let me check. So it's going to be hard for me because I don't have Shelley to. Let me make sure I don't have any questions that I need to answer here first. I'm going to scroll up. Let's see, Saints and Sinners. Hey, that was my old one. Oh, we do have giveaways. We just went over 50. So I do have copies. You'll have a choice of live cast. Here, let me get the big screen. If Shelley was here, she'd do this. She'd go big, she'd say. So we have a copy of A Gypsy's Kiss or Live Cast Life, and we will sign them. I will sign them, and Shelley will sign it. So I can't send them to you till next Thursday because Shelley's not back till Wednesday night. You will also get 2 of our challenge coins. One is, of course, the AGK challenge coin with a treasure on the back, and the other is the AGK challenge coin with the Mariah's, what's that flower? I forgot. I call it Mariah's Cash. And this is number 63 of 100. So, and then you'll get the 2 postcards, one with the original written in English. And Shelley usually signs those because she's the one that wrote the English version of that poem. I translated it. And then the little cabin that we found in Louisiana that we called Mariah's house. So it says, "Ma maison sur le bayou." My little house on the bayou, she says in French. In my little made-up, grown-up. Rudy has found the log. I have a feeling. So I got a text message from Jens after somebody had done the overlay in Photoshop, and he says, "So is my chair down? There we go. That's better." I grew another 6 inches there. And he said, "What do you think?" And he just sent me the thing. And I said, "I think this is going to be the first of many that we see over the summer, because everybody that gets a chance is going to take a picture of logs." So I think we'll see a lot of those. I was going to do a poll tonight, and the poll was going to be, do you think Jack is going to spill the beans on the location? Yes or no? We're going to talk about that tonight. Super chat and super thanks. Yeah, you can do super thanks now. If you go back to one of the old ones. So we did. I tested it. So I gave myself $5. I don't know, whatever it was. Actually, what I'm giving is YouTube 30% of $5, $1.50. But somebody else gave us our first super thanks, which is very cool, on one of our older videos. It's very cool. So I noticed for some reason our other channel, which is over 1,000, which is monetized, it doesn't have the super thanks. So there must be some new little thing that's required in order to get to the super thanks, because we couldn't do it on Video Tarot. Packer Jack says, I just got served copper. And oh, you guys are just being crazy. I can't trust anything you're saying out there. All right, let's talk documents. And then we'll talk news. So I did add this document. Unfortunately, it shows up in vertical. This is, I'll start adding this. So this is a list of the documents that I'm going to show you tonight. And, you know, and have a good place to start. When you print it out, of course, it'll be in a landscape format as opposed to a portrait format. Okay, oops, it's over here. So let's go back. Chihuahua. Okay, so I'm going to do them. You'll see these dates here. Those are in date and time order. So this was filed on, oh no. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang on. Put attention, you fellow. Let's see. 0507, 0513. Okay. So this is the one that was filed on 2022 0511 at 1425, 625, and it was filed by Coombs. All right. So let's look at it. And basically, it's Coombs. You remember Terry Coombs, acting pro se, expedited motion, respectfully moves to intervene as petitioner in the case. The following is in support of the motion. So he provides, you know, his claim is that he's the original solver. Let me see if I can open up that so you can see it a little bit better here. There we go. So he claims he's the original solver, location finder, and winner of the Chase treasure chest. And there are other people that have evidence of the prize. He's referring to Jack, but he also refers to Jenny Kyle and Team Fenn. So in somewhere he's got that, he believes there's other people, and he's filing it in that case, and he goes through and he has a bunch of rationale, but he never makes a claim. And that's the challenge for this judge, is that although these things that they're writing, Coombs and what's her name, Carolyn Taylor, is it? They are filing these motions, petitions to intervene, but they're not making claims. They're treating it like it's like a regular court case with a jury, and it's not. And that's why it says they didn't file in time. They had to file those within 4 months of the case actually getting to the courts. But he talks about that. He insists that it was around. He's like me. He's another New Mexico guy. Except I'm not making a big deal about it, even though I know for sure it was in New Mexico. I'm just kidding. So he's requesting an FBI investigation. He's filed a whistleblower thing. I mean, it's about as complex. I mean, it's 7 or 8 pages downloaded, and read it. Claims he is owed property by Forrest Fenn dating back to 2016 in or around, and that's not his claim. There is no claim. So he gets down to it, and the bottom line is he asks the court for relief. The relief requested is $3 million to Coombs from the Fenn estate. Findings will verify that Coombs is the original first Fenn 100% clue solver and location locator. I hadn't noticed that before. He's a location locator and rightfully won the contest first in September 2016. The Kyle clue about India was released in August of 2016, exact match for the country of India shape on Google Maps, and then he gives some coordinates. Those are probably the deepest digital coordinates I've ever seen in my life. So he refiled that. It is not the first time he's filed it. He filed it both with Carl and Mr. Nasco, the attorneys for the estate, and the Jack Stoof. Okay, so that was the first one. The second one, touchy. There we go. I'm just trying to get used to this new touchscreen. So this is an expedited motion from Zoe, from the old family and the estate, to extend the discovery deadline to May 31st, which is what they wanted. If I remember correctly, they did get, she explained that because the government had intervened. This is the one that we saw last week, which has the email from Mr. Nasco to Mr. Summer claiming, I shouldn't say claiming, saying that he had a conversation with a representative of the solicitor's office. We figured out later he was referring to the Department of the Interior, which honestly still doesn't make sense, but I'm going to go with it. And then he cited the regulations, the U.S. Code 100751. And he, like I said, he never quite says that that the government is threatening his client. The way he puts it is the government is justifiably concerned about the disclosure of the location of the found treasure through the compelled deposition of my client and the resulting potential for damage to government property in contravention of 54 USC 10751, which is the SERPA, and 36 CFR, and that's the mistake, that 0 should be a period, 2.31, and that's the one that's the park regulation against trespassing. So I don't, again, there's two things that bother me about it. One is that they use the trespassing instead of CFR 2.22, which is the abandonment of property and the not returning the property to the superintendent. I thought that would have been a better one. And then, this is Summers' petition to the government. He says Petitioner McCracken has publicly indicated that he fully intends to request Stoof to disclose the location where he found the chest. And so the estate has no intention of asking Stoof where in Wyoming he found it. The estate and Stoof, through counsel, have rescheduled a deposition, and Petitioner McCracken opposes this motion. He wants to do it. He wanted to do it sooner. He didn't want to wait till the 31st. So there was that. So that was Summers. And again, we saw that last week because Petitioner McCracken released that on his website before it had been filed with the court. So forgive me if there's questions coming up, guys. Usually Shelley keeps an eye on that. And I can't see anything. So just wait a little bit until I can get back and then we can answer questions. So this is the third one that was filed during the week. This was filed on the 11th at 1438. So here's the one that I found the most interesting. So this is the estates, Zoe and the estates, consolidated response in opposition to pending motions to intervene of Coombs and Tyler. So you remember Coombs, we just read his most recent motion. He keeps seeming to refile the same motion. And then Tyler was the one that we read last week, the nice lady that was filing, claiming that she had information that the court would benefit by, etc. Again, there was no claim. There was just like, I have some information about where it was actually hidden, and I'd share that with you. And then, as I pointed out, she had made a YouTube channel and posted some videos up there. So they go down and they cite these rules. Zoe Old, personal representative for the state of Forrest, Fenn, the estate, and by and through her undersigned counsel, Summer and Carnes and Associates, and submits this consolidated. So she's consolidating them all into a single motion response in opposition to two of the pending motions to intervene, namely the Coombs motion and the Tyler motion, hereinafter referred to collectively as the motions. The motion should be denied for the following reasons. So the first reason basically is the right of intervention. And they're claiming that they don't have any right to intervene based on the rules, New Mexico's rules. And that the right comes when you have a legal and financial claim against the estate that you would like to be satisfied by the estate with a court making the judgment. And it basically says, if you look at our rules, there's no such thing as claiming, I want to share some information with you before you make your decision. So there's they claim there's no legitimate grounds. And then the second thing they claim, so the second thing that they claim is that these claims were not made within 4 months of the initial announcement of the estate. So notice to creditors, first time October 28th, the form of the period of the presentation claims on March 1st, they note that it actually expired on February 28th, but February 28th was a Sunday. So therefore, you can see right here, she said, they say the motions are not timely filed and claims by Coombs and Tyler may had for any relief against the estate are time barred. So there's two reasons. Number one, it doesn't, there is no claim, claim of a financial claim against the estate. They're just talking about, I found the treasure and you should pay me because well, they don't say I found it. I solved it and I knew where it was and you should pay me for that. So they're very clear about that. And they kind of repeat it. An interest relating to the property of transaction was the subject of an action, and the application is so situated the disposition of the action or may, as a practical matter, impair or impede the applicant's ability to protect the interest. So, they finish it up with this paragraph. It is almost impossible to determine what the Coombs motion is seeking. He claims to have extensive evidence. So they're building their case, right? Coombs has extensive evidence, is not a claim. Even if it were, it would be time barred against the estate. Mr. Stoof is not a party to this action. Plainly, Coombs' motion does not meet the criteria for permissive intervention. Similarly, the Tyler motion asserts that Miss Tyler has tangible evidence. So they make the same criticisms, and that's why this is they're trying to put this all in one motion so it can be heard at once. Now, they do mention McCracken here in paragraph 9. This case involves petitioner Jamie McCracken claims of unilateral contract, because part of McCracken's claim is that the book was a contract, and fraud. And they ask him to read that. It refers to that. McCracken claims he deciphered Forrest Fenn's poem, discovered the location of the treasure chest in 2014 in New Mexico, but did not retrieve it for more than 6 years. Afterward, Fenn continued to move the treasure chest to prevent McCracken from finding and retrieving his treasure chest. The treasure chest. The estate has counterclaimed against McCracken for malicious abuse of process. So that means they could have a separate hearing on that, because that's not probate. That's where somebody has, misused the process, and you're going to file a suit against them outside the probate. I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that, so I'll have to take a look and see if I can find that. The assertions in the motions have nothing whatever to do with the subject matter of either the petition or the counterclaim. Finally, the motions are not accompanied by pleadings setting forth claim or defense which intervention is sought. So the bottom line is, wherefore the estate requests the motions be denied. And again, this is the document that has most pages, although that's not true. This subpoena may have more. But this is the estate's consolidated response in opposition to pending motions to intervene of Coombs and Tyler. So they're going after those specifically and throwing a little bit back at McCracken as well. So we'll have to see what happens with that, but it's credible, and it gets a lot of the interveners out of the way, because they didn't file in time and they didn't file a motion of claim. So the argument that they're using is perfectly rational. Remember, I told you about the federal rules of civil procedure. Well, New Mexico has its own rules of civil procedure that are based on the federal rules of civil procedure. And what they're saying is that if you look at the probate part of the New Mexico rules of civil procedure, what these motions are doing have nothing to do with what's in New Mexico's rules. And that's how they're making the claim. So this one is the request for hearing. That's taking place on Monday. There's two hearings. This is for the one this coming Monday. Let me see, is this right? Jury dates of hearing presently set. Pretrial conference. So there's a pretrial conference on May 16th. That's a public conference. And then the trial actually starts on June 13th. So they had to ask for time so that they could resolve the issue of whether or not they could extend the time for discovery to the end of May. So they're going to be talking about that on May 16th, right? So that's in the record. And then, so this is the fun one. Okay. So this is actually the Fenn estate giving notice to the court that they want to depose Jack Stoof. And again, when I first got into looking at these records, I thought it was Mr. McCracken, that asked for the deposition, but it was the Summers asking for the deposition as a result of the McCracken petition, the motion, because what he wants to do is he wants to ask Jack Stoof where the treasure was. And of course, Jack is going to say in Wyoming. That's enough. That satisfies that's what Summers wanted. But just tell me it was in Wyoming and not in New Mexico, because Summers has the declaration of Forrest Fenn, who said he hid it in Wyoming. Now he'll have the deposition of Jack Stoof saying that he found it in Wyoming. So it leaves McCracken in a funny place, everybody else in a funny place. The other two motions, Coombs and Tyler, also say it was in New Mexico, but he doesn't have to worry about those because they weren't filed in time and because there's no claim. So that's the request for doing the deposition. And then the last thing is the subpoena. So in order to have a deposition done, you have to issue a subpoena, and this is what it looks like. And basically it says it just marks the boss. It's a standard subpoena, and a subpoena is an order of the court. So once the court stamps this, basically they agree to this subpoena being issued, and a subpoena is a formal document. You can't walk away from a subpoena because if you say I'm not going to do this, you're automatically in contempt, and a sheriff can pick you up and take you to jail until you do it. So they've asked for a subpoena for appearance of a person for deposition. Okay. And there's Jack's name and his attorney's name. You are hereby commanded to appear via Zoom for your deposition, and it's going to take place from the offices of Summer and Carnes on May 31st at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for the purpose of testify at the taking of a deposition in the above case. We will supply the appropriate link. Now, what I'm going to suggest you do is down after this, you see the bottom paragraph. You are commanded to produce for the following records and other documents not applicable, because he doesn't have to produce. He just has to be there for the deposition. And then it says, if you do not comply with the subpoena, you may be held in contempt of court and punished by fine or imprisonment. So the court takes these very seriously. You don't turn your back on it. But after the certification of mailing, there's a bunch of boilerplate that they add to the subpoenas. Every subpoena that goes out from any court in New Mexico, but this one applies to New Mexico. So it just has kind of the instructions, how you're going to be protected, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is just boilerplate that is part of every subpoena. So I'm going to suggest you read that because everybody should know what would happen if you were to be presented with a subpoena. Served is what they call it. You've been served. Okay, so there's two ways there's lots of ways you can be served, but the ones that should worry you are if you're served with a subpoena or you're served with a warrant to show up in court. Okay. So those are the documents that were released on Friday. I'll put the link down here again. So if you guys want to take a look at them yourselves, you can just go to that link and you'll be able to find them and you can download them. Okay. So let me go back and see if there's any questions. Oops, we got a super chat from where's super chat? There we go. Yay, Kiwis Road. Thoughts on the location to the Lost Padre mine being found and how the U.S. Treasure Trove law applies in Texas to finder and those who validate it. So the answer to that question at the moment is I don't know, because I don't know where it was found. If it was found on private property and the property owner approved, because there's not a lot of land in Texas that is in private property. So they have a couple of national forests, and they have some national parks, but the bigger problem will be on private property. And then it's just a matter, it's unearned income. So you have to pay taxes on it eventually. But what I recommend is getting a good attorney so that they can negotiate. The IRS is only interested in getting their money. So they may not want to get it right away, but if you hire a good tax attorney, one preferably in Washington, D.C., right across the street from the offices of the IRS, they can negotiate with the IRS and get you terms that are agreeable to them and may save you some money in the long run. So, but I'll take a look at it. Let me write that down. I'll take a look and see if there's anything any insight I can add. I'm not sure that I can, but I'll try. The Lost Padre Mine. So I was watching, not the Discovery, the Smithsonian Channel the other day, and apparently there is a program called The Lost Gold of the Aztecs. And it has these 5 or 6 teams looking in Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. And I don't know whether I guys told you, but the second book that Shelley and I were going to write was going to be called Anasazi, and it was another treasure hunt. And it was based on the fact that there are indications that when the Aztecs left Mexico City, what is now Mexico City, they went north. And a lot of people, I'm going to sound like Donald Trump here, a lot of archaeologists believe that some of the Anasazi social components that we see, from all in that area, southwestern Colorado, southern Utah, northern Arizona, and northwestern New Mexico were the areas of the Anasazi. And it was interesting because I was looking for some pictures today so I could give you a picture thing. And I found that map, that it was a survey that was done by the Spanish way back when. And I don't know if you remember, it was something that led us to that area up where we were looking, where I showed you last week, the Rio Quemado. And it was a survey that was done by the Spanish way back when, and it was a land grant survey. And down in the lower, I'll get it for next week, down in the lower left-hand corner, there's a circle around this survey, and it says Aztec ruins. And when Forrest was still alive, I sent it to him, and I said, "Do you know anything about this?" And he wrote me back, and he said that he had helped excavate it with a couple of archaeologists from the University of New Mexico. So the Spanish thought these were Aztec ruins. They didn't call them Anasazi. They called them Aztec ruins. So and the Spanish were looking for gold all over, Aztec gold all over New Mexico. So there might be something there to take a look at. But let me take a look at that Kiwis Road because I don't know right now. You're the first new. Okay, Capro says, great question, Gobbles. Let me see. Why does it say subpoenas returned? You mean the document where, let's see. Is it this one that you're talking about? No, that's the third alias. I don't know. Let me see where you're seeing it. Do you remember which of the documents said that? If a subpoena is returned, that means it was returned as a result of a motion changing when the subpoena is due. So if it's returned by an attorney and says, we can't do this. Everybody agrees they can't do it. The only one that's not agreeing is McCracken. But since he doesn't have the same authority as the estate can drive this. And then McCracken has to prove his logic for not doing it that way. So generally speaking, if a subpoena is returned, it's just because it's no longer in the schedule. But I don't see, let me go through these again just to make sure. So extended for deposition, consolidated response, request for hearing, third amended notice to take deposition, and designated use of deposition at trial in lieu of live testimony, third alias deposition subpoena. So I don't see it on any of the documents. Gobbles, was it on something from last week? But generally speaking, that means it's been invalidated because the subpoena is set for a particular date and time. And if that date and time changes as a result of, so, if Jack had been traveling to Puerto Rico, for example, when that subpoena was scheduled, they could return it and ask for a different date. That's all it means. Because they want to avoid ignoring it. You don't want to ignore a subpoena. You can return it and say, I can't do this. Can we schedule it for another date? I think that's all it is. So, okay. Because you guys are nuts. Bobby Brass needs to be banned. Why does Bobby Brass need to be banned? Bobby Brass, you misbehaving there? Are you misbehaving? Bobby Brass, what's going on there, brother? Huh? So I'm going to put you in timeout, Bobby Brass. We'll see if you come back and maybe behave a little bit better. But when I have two people telling me that you, let's see. Yeah. So Bobby, I'll put you in timeout. That's kind of the equivalent of a first warning. How's that? The subpoena I read is in the system that way, is it? Let's see. Third alias deposition subpoena. Third amended notice to take depositions and designation of used deposition at trial in lieu of live. I don't know, guys. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I'll see. I do remember seeing something about that, but it's again, it's the. Is it someplace before that? Expedited motion. Oh, here. Let me just look here. Well, it's someplace here. Sorry. Every time, Jen says, every time he gets banned, it gets worse. What's the point? Oh, does it get worse? I had noticed. And again, if Shelley was here, she could keep an eye on it. But I mean, if he comes back and he's still being Yurik, he's still trying. So, Bobby Brass, apparently you haven't learned your lesson. Ciao, my brother. Got too many complaints. As we say in Italian, ciao. Ciao. Okay, K-Pro says it's in the court record from the website. The term. Okay, I'll look at it. I don't see it on the court record, on the one page of the court record that I saw today, that I have listed. Okay. K-Pro, I'm only seeing a partial screen. Yeah, it's only that I only did the one page. So you're not seeing a partial screen. You're seeing a partial screen of. Hang on. My cord isn't long enough to go to the printer. Okay, so that's it for documentos, I think. K-Pro needs to reboot. She's screen is okay. I'm only seeing partial screen. Is the screen off for you guys? Are you guys having trouble with the screen? Is anybody having trouble with the screen? If you are, let me know. I'll fix it. If I can fix it from here, I will. So don't forget, we do have a trivia question coming up, picture-based trivia question, just a bit. I want to share some other things with you that I wanted to talk about. And the first is, I don't know, I don't know, and I don't care your politics on the coronavirus. I don't care about it. But I don't know how many people are aware that you can apply for um, federal assistance when it comes to the funeral expenses associated with a family member who died as a result of the coronavirus. FEMA offers up to $9,000 in funeral assistance. And I will post this page um, in the chat room so you can see it. So if you have someone, a family member, um, who has another family member that passed as a result of the coronavirus, they can apply to FEMA for up to $9,000 in funeral expenses, even if they've already paid them. So if it's after the fact, you will need a death certificate that indicates on the death certificate that they died from coronavirus, and you will have to provide FEMA some sort of evidence that you are actually related to them and that you are going to pay the funeral expenses. So, so it was just something I had shared this on one of our other channels a while back, and I realized I should probably share it again because there are people still struggling with this thing, the statistics. And I mean, we just went over 1 million deaths in the U.S. this last week, and the deaths are on a downward trend, but the people getting sick on an upward trend. So these new variants are not sending as many people to the hospital as the old ones. So MJ Inzer, it is coming from our future. It is borrowed from our future. That's where. All right, let's talk about Russia and the Ukraine. So it again hasn't been a good week for our friend Vladimir. Um, let's see if this opens up a little bit so I can control it better. So this is May 14th, day 80. As you can see, they haven't made much more progress than they were last week. And as a matter of fact, you can see this area up here around Kharkiv. They've actually moved out. The Russians have moved east from Kharkiv. They've given it up. And the Ukrainian army is back in control of that area. So they've backed up. They're still, of course, in this area around Kharkiv. They're in the Donetsk is the area that they acquired back in 2014 and 2015, along with the Crimea. This area in yellow is the Donbas region, and they're fighting for that region. But they're again, they got to a river. They were trying to cross a river, and the Ukrainians blew up the bridges. And so the Russians retreated from the bridges. So they're just not, the Ukrainians are starting to say that this war will be over at the end of the year. That's a lot of confidence for a country that's, significantly smaller than the country that decided to fight it. But I think the Russians are experiencing all the possible bad things that could happen for somebody that decides to go to war, from economics to the poor state of their equipment to the poor state of their military. Everything that could have gone wrong has. Now they are still over here in Mariupol. They moved out all the civilians that were in that one steel processing plant. There's the last count 150 Ukrainians in there, and the Russians are continuing to attack it. They're actually having what they call CQB, close quarters battles, inside the steel mill, but the Ukrainians are holding them off. And the latest estimate on Russian deaths is 17,000. That's a lot of people dead for the Russians. That's a very costly war. And they've lost a lot of officers, including flag officers, that, it's just not good for them. They're not good. They haven't made any progress behind that line of red that you see anywhere near Kyiv. I mean, they are occasionally bombing it, but even now that they have anti-aircraft weapons that the European Union has provided them, um, they're able to at least control that to a minimum. They lost two ships, two big ships in the Black Sea, and they haven't made any progress towards Odessa. Now, they do have the Sea of Azov, which is this area here, right? And that's why Mariupol is so important. But Ukraine still has a location on the Black Sea that, as long as they protect, they'll be able to conduct commerce. They can still ship out. Now the problem is they're so focused on protecting their country that they're not getting a lot out. But they're kind of the breadbasket for the Mideast. That's where the Mideast gets a lot of their grain is from Ukraine. So, but it's still there. The other bad news for Russia is that both Finland and Sweden are asking to be admitted to NATO immediately. I mean, they're not going to. There's no. Usually, it takes 6 to 12 months to go through the process. They're asking to be added there. Putin has threatened them by saying, "Well, you can make things pretty bad for yourselves." But I think these countries are ready to move now, and they're not afraid of Putin. The only stick in the wicket right now is Erdogan, Turkey's president. So any NATO member has the right to protest another NATO member's entrance. And so Erdogan of Turkey is protesting the entry of Sweden and Finland, claiming that they're home for terrorists. So nobody's taking him seriously. There was a meeting of the G7 this last week, and that's where a lot of this came out. But it looks like Finland and Sweden within the next couple of months will become members of NATO, which is kind of a nightmare for Russia because it just adds to Finland has a 1,400-mile border with Russia. So now, and Finland hasn't forgiven Russia for their invasion in 1939. And I think Finland feels that they're at risk if this guy just keeps pushing westward, and they want NATO's protection if that happens. And if he does, if they become members, and if Finland and Sweden become NATO members, Ukraine is not and hasn't even asked. They talked about it, but they've never gotten to the point where they were asking. So if Finland and Sweden become NATO members and Putin attacks either of them, like more likely Finland, then he goes to war with NATO. So his worst nightmares are coming true. And that's the last thing I wanted. And then actually the Finns in 1939 did a pretty good job of holding the Russians back. And the Russians were a lot more powerful back then than they are today, other than the nuclear component. But it's just they're not in a good place. There is no good news. I mean, if I was Putin, I would start shooting generals if you don't give me good news, then there hasn't been any. Everything kind of turns into a disaster. But I did notice that Senator McConnell, minority leader in the Senate, Leader McConnell, did make a visit with some other Republican senators to visit President Zelensky in the Ukraine. So he's had a lot of visitors recently, including the First Lady and now the representatives of the Senate. And that's good to me because I think it's whenever our House and Senate can work together in the same direction, because they do that so rarely anymore. I like it when they're at least working in the same direction. And it seems both Democrats and Republicans are in support of Ukraine, and they're showing it by making visits, having conversations with him. Zelensky gets the opportunity to kind of tell us what he needs. I noticed that, let me see, who was it? Not Germany. Another one of the European nations committed $45 million in support. It's not in the billions like we've been doing, but he's getting a lot of support, and he's getting some from Lend-Lease, and it can't come fast enough, basically, is what he repeats, what he consistently repeats. So there was another mass shooting in New York. It was in a Black community. It was a white guy, and he was live streaming it on Twitch while he was doing it. And it was pretty sickening. I saw some of the footage. I got some of the footage before they took it down from Twitch, and you can tell he was captured alive, so he'll have to go to trial for that eventually. But I don't know what has to hit you on a day where you say, I'm just going to go kill a number of people. There was another one in Milwaukee, and this looked like a gang thing. It was around where the Bucks were playing. Um, After the Bucks game, and 17 were shot. They arrested 10 and collected 10 firearms. So they're thinking it's a gang on gang thing. So not pretty, not good. I'd rather look at babies, because babies are adorable. Look at those babies. So let me. I'll torture you some more. So Toby Renee sent me some that were even cuter. Look at these. Look at that baby. I can't open them because they're not mine. Look at that baby. He looks like his big brother. He has the same chin. But this one, so I always tease the girls. I'm uh, Mid-Eastern, Native American, and Spanish. Not that Spanish or brown, but I've got a lot of dark in me, and it shows up whenever I go out in the sun. And the girls are just producing a bunch of white babies, little white, little cute, little porcelain doll babies. But this one has some brown. The first pictures I saw, he has some brown, so maybe he's got some brown in him as well. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I think that's everything I've got. Let's see if we can do our contents. Let's see. Toby went over court docs. Russia needs a coup. Mary Green, I'm worried that it may get to that point, because I think if he decides to use the nuclear option, I think his generals are going to revolt. I know that Gerasimov, you've heard me talk about him before, the general of the armies, Gerasimov, is not happy with a kinetic war, because he believes that you could beat the West without going kinetic. And I think sooner or later, as Putin becomes more dramatically radical between the army and the oligarchs, sooner or later they're going to turn on him. That's my guess, especially if this goes on much longer. And I was watching a video today from the Ukraine, and it was Ukrainians. So here's what was real interesting to me. Is every video that I see coming from Ukraine about the Ukrainians show Ukrainians, no matter what they're doing, whether they're fighting fires or engaging in combat or recovering the bodies of the dead, they are equipped. I mean, their uniforms, the uniforms that I've seen on them look like tactical uniforms that some of our special operations guys would wear or use, except they carry the AK-47s instead of the M4s, or they're not AK-47s anymore. They're the same frame, but they're customized to be close quarter combat weapons. But I'm always impressed. Anyway, the story that I was going to tell is one of the videos that I was watching was these Ukrainian, I don't know what you'd call them, I guess body recovery specialists. And they were collecting the plastic bags containing the bodies of Russian soldiers. And they were stacking them as, they were not throwing them around. I mean, I thought they were treating them with respect. They were in white uniforms with white head covers and the right kind of face protection, all the protective wear that they needed, gloves, boots, everything. And the bags were these consistent white bags, and they were putting them in refrigerated train cars so that if the Russians ever wanted their dead back, they would get them from the Ukrainians, as opposed to the Ukrainians who have to dig up, graves with 30,000 people in them. And I was just impressed with how efficient and effective they look. Like they were really taking, I guess I can go back to my thing here. Like they were taking their job seriously, and they're well equipped. I'm always impressed. Now, I haven't seen some of the bigger equipment. I haven't seen the anti-tank equipment. I haven't seen the mortars or the artillery, the howitzers, and I haven't seen, they are apparently using them, any of the switchblades or the Phoenix Ghosts, things like that. I'd love to see some of that, and I try to keep an eye out for it. But they're being very impressive, and oh look, Sassy says, let me see if I can get that here. Where is it? Sassy says, I now have Stella Cullen, who died at birth, Colton and Caden. Stella is going to have her hands full with baby brothers. Yeah. Yeah. I said it, like I said, this is grandbaby number 15. And I'm going to be going out. I'm going to take a kind of a week-long vacation. So Toby's mom, my ex, is there now. And I think that's why she's the one, we not only had our own babies, but we also had 24 foster babies, and she is really good at babies. And that's the one. I'm not going to talk bad about my ex. She's really good at babies. And so whenever the girls have babies, she moves up and down the coast to support them through the first month of babyhood for each one. And she's always done that. And we know she's going to do that. And so I wait until she's done that. She's leaving on June 15th, I think Toby said. So sometime after June 15th, I'll go out there and spend a week with her and see the new baby and reconnect with Ragnar. So Ragnar and Ramses. The best part is their last name. Ragnar James and Ramses Ford Fernandez de Castro. I mean, if you don't become king of the world with that name, geez, those are good names. Okay, let's play some trivia. Let's see. Yeah, we had 24 foster babies. So you guys know that I traveled a great deal. And so with Laura, my ex, she was a wonderful woman, and I should have been a much better husband. But with her, she just loved babies. She just loved babies until they went to school. And then they got out of those cute clothes that you would dress them in, and they just wanted to wear, tennis shoes and Oshkosh by gosh or whatever. They just weren't those baby girls. And then they wanted to play soccer. And so at that point, I would take them over, like, okay, now they're yours. So one of the times I was traveling, and what Laura did, and we're both former Catholics. Like, I'm not a Catholic. I haven't been a Catholic since, I don't know, since Vietnam, I guess. But Laura was, I'd go with her to Easter services and Christian Christmas services, things like that. But one of the times I was gone, she went and signed up with Catholic Charities. And I don't know how much you guys know about Catholic Charities, but one of the services they provide is adoption. So you have an option for not having an abortion. You can go to Catholic Charities. They have families waiting that can't have babies, waiting for babies. But there's a requirement for, as soon as the baby is born, they take it from the mother so she doesn't become attached to it. And they have a foster family hold it until it goes to the adoptive parents. And sometimes, so we got them literally right out of the hospital. And then we'd have them. The shortest one was 2 weeks. The longest one was 12 months. And it was a pair of twins. Is that redundant? It was twins. And they were calling us mommy and daddy. And that was actually the last one, because that was really hard. But over a period of about, I guess it was 4 or 5 years, after the girls were all in school, we had a series of 24 foster babies that we cared for from the time they came out of the hospital to the time that they went to their new parents, their adoptive parents. And every Christmas they used to have a party where they'd get us, the foster parent, the temporary foster parents, together with the adoptive parents, and we'd get to see the kids growing up. And we went to that for years. I mean, I'm way up until mid 2000s to go see those babies again as they grew up. So yeah, we had not only our 6, but we had 24 foster babies as well. And I think that's why the girls are so good with babies, because they were, from the time they were, I don't know, 5, they had babies around the house all the time. And they were different babies, little, every possible race, creed, and color. And every gender, every 2 gender babies are just 2 genders, right? But I think that's why they got so good at babies. By that time, the older kids, Carl and Jason and Sean, were out of the house, right? They were in college, or in Jason's case, he was already out of college. So it was the girls that had it help us with these babies. And they didn't have to. We didn't require that, but they did. They loved it. And I think that's why it's so easy for them to just keep out. I was talking to Toby Renee today, and I said, so is this the last one? And she said, I think we're going to try for one more. I think we're going to try for one more. And I said, what if it's a girl? And she said, I'll give her to Erica, which is the one that loves girls, because Toby would rather have boys. Toby Renee would rather have boys. She is cute. Cute as the Dickens. All right, so let's do a trivia. So here's the prize, your choice of one of two books. If you're a previous winner and you win again tonight, then I would appreciate it if you'd pass that win on to somebody who hasn't, or I'll pick that. I'll pick the person. If I've seen that you've already won, I'll pick the first person that hasn't won. Okay, one of the two books, Livecast Life. Kpro, I did send you a copy of Women in Podcasting. So if you win this one, if you win one of these, I won't count that. How's that? Won't count that. All right. So here's the trivia. And I'll leave it up so you can see it for a little bit. So take a look at what the heck? Who's this guy? Do we have another? You guys need to yell at me. So we just had the new Christy. Christy asked, have they been together? So the problem is that there's 6 of the grandkids that live here in New Mexico, and they're older. They're the ones that belong to Sean and Jason. So they're in their teens already because Sean and Jason were older. And the girls are all on the East Coast, but I am always surprised when I see pictures of all of them. I'm going like, why are you in Boca Raton, or why are you in? They get together a lot. They travel a lot. I always ask them, don't you guys have jobs? Like, you seem to travel a lot. So this one is brand new. What will happen is that at some point, the 2 grandbabies in Boca Raton, the 4 in South Carolina, and the 2 in Alexandria will get together. And then I'll see pictures of all of it. I have never been in the same place where all 8 of them were together at the same time. I have to go to separate locations, and I actually like that way. But that way, I can give them all their attention. So, who is this guy, and why are we getting jerks in tonight? Okay. So you ready? Here's the picture, and I'll ask the trivia question associated with the picture. Here we go. So the question is, on what river was this photograph taken? And I'll count to 15 so you can have a good look at it. Silently, I'll count to 15. Actually, I can look at the timer. So take a look at it. On what river? Spelling counts. All right. Okay, 15 seconds. There it is. Spelling counts. The first person to tell me on what river that picture was taken wins a prize. Oh, geez. Never mind. Hal Gibson got it. Hal Gibson says, as Forrest used to say, the Popo Aggie. Well done, Hal. Dang nabbit. Let's look at that picture again. So there is a stretch on the Popo Aggie in Sinks Canyon called the Sinks and the Rise, where the river actually goes into this cave here, disappears into the rocks, and it takes, I don't know, like 4 hours to come out the other end. They've measured it because they put dye in it. And the place where it comes out is called the Rise. And what happens is somehow it collects all this food while it does that. And so when you go down to the Rise, there's a bunch of trout waiting, lazy trout. Trout are naturally lazy. They're all waiting for the food that comes out of it. But this is the Sinks. This is where it goes underground. And it's the only place in the 4 treasure states that you'd find something like that. That's the Forrest used to say Popo Aggie. the correct pronunciation is Papoja. That's how it's pronounced. It's a Native American phrase, and they pronounce it Papoja, and it's just beautiful. We used to, the people in Lander all say it like that. So I had a picture of a sheath knife, handmade sheath knife that was made in a Damascus blade that was $245, and it was called the Papoja hunting knife or something like that. And I came like that far from buying it. And Shelley says, "You don't need another knife. Like, you don't need another knife." So, dang, Mary Green can't spell. I won a headset last year. Does that count against my having won before? No, it doesn't. Hal, you can go do me a favor, Hal. There's a number that's scrolling across the screen. Send a text message to 505-750-2. I don't know my own phone number. Hang on. It'll come across here just a minute. 505-750-2744. Hang on. It'll come right across. Here it is. Livecast live. Call or text. 505-750-2744. So send me a text message to that number and give me your name, your email address, and your complete shipping address. So if you give me your email, you don't have to give me your email address, but if you give me your email address, the USPS will keep you up to date on when we send you your package. It'll track the package for you. Now, I do want to warn you, you're welcome, Hal. I do want to warn you that Shelley won't be back till Wednesday night. I won't see her till Thursday. So that's when we can sign it. So that's right. The Popo Aggie in Sinks Canyon. See, Mary had it too. Mary knew where it was. So we were up there in Lander we went to the Lander airport. We ate some cheese wheels. I'll never forget the damn cheese wheels. We had a good time up there. Did we go to Thermopolis at the same time? No, I think it's a beautiful area. The Sinks Canyon is a beautiful area. And there's actually 3 rivers, the Middle, the Little, and the Popo Aggie, right? So, but it was cute the way that Forrest used to say it. He told that story. I think the first time I heard him tell the story was at Moby Dickens. And he said it with such confidence, the little, he used to call it that little Popo Aggie, in that Forrest Fenn drawl that he had. So I think that is it for tonight. Let me show you the picture one more time so you can see it. That's the Sinks right there. Look it up. It's the Sinks, and then it disappears, and the distance is like less than a quarter mile. But whatever happens, so as usual, scientists got involved and they put some dye in it. Some dye, some safe dye in it, so that they could see how long. And I think it's like 4.5 hours it stays underground, and it's warmer when it comes out than when it leaves. So they did all this research on it. And I'll bring a picture of the rise, because I do have some pictures of the rise. I won't make it a trivia question, but I do have some pictures so you can see all the fish just sit there. And then worse, they have these fish feeding jars. You can buy fish food for $1. And so these fish do nothing but get fat. And of course, there's no fishing along that stretch of the Papoja River. So pretty sneaky, those Wyoming guys. They also have, I got some pictures of some yurts. We did a lot of photography up there. I have some, let's see, this will be my last try. Capro says, check. Oh, my text. Hang on. Oh, sorry. It's because my phone, I turned my phone off. Subpoena returned. Oh, I see. So a subpoena is active until it is inactive. So in order to issue a third subpoena, they have to return for the second subpoena in order to get it off the record, right? So that you're not being served with 2 subpoenas simultaneously with different dates. So that's what that is. So the notice is that we returned a subpoena and we're asking for another one to be issued, because the subpoena is dependent upon subject, date, time, and location. So if any of those change, you have to bring back the old one, and pull it from the records, or notate that it's returned, and then issue the new one. That's what that's about. I hope that answers your question. Okay, I think that's it. Do I have anything else? I think I complained about everything. Shared baby pictures, Ukraine, McConnell, and the two mass shootings. Too bad. Mass shootings make me sad. Mass shootings. But I got to tell you again how good Kevin looked when he came over today. He looked great. So I haven't opened these. These are still wrapped in the plastic. I'm going to wait. I'm reading The Secrets of San Lazaro again. And that book, I think, is an expression. I haven't read any of these older ones. This San Lazaro was written later, but every paragraph is Forrest Fenn. It's just the way he would sound and the respect that he had for the land without being scholarly. He's protecting it and he's taking care of it. And he has the archaeologists, and he warns you at the beginning of the book, this book isn't written for scholars. As a matter of fact, scholars are going to criticize it. It's written for people like me who just love what they're looking at. And I didn't, I never got to see it. I never, nor did I ever ask him. I just didn't feel like it was appropriate. But when we were doing that video, that live stream for the Renelle Jacobson, when he raffled off a bronze jar with all the artifacts. I was watching it again. I was looking at the pictures, and you could tell he just loved each one of those things. Had some story to tell, and he knew every one of those stories. The goat poop, was funny. And then he made that multi-strand necklace for Allie McGraw, and it was just beautiful. And he made it. I know my hands, even at my age now, sometimes they don't work the way that I want them to. I don't have, nor do I have the patience actually. But he made that necklace for her out of the bits and pieces from San Lazaro. He used to call it San Lazaro, which is kind of the anglicized version, the gringo version. So let's see. Secrets has one signed copy for each of his future children. I could see that. Yeah, mine is signed. I actually, like I said, I bought two of them, and Jason was over one time. Oh, Hal, it was you don't have to give us you're welcome, Hal. You've paid for our cost of the book and shipping at this point, so thank you. That's very kind and thoughtful of you. Yeah, if you guys do, you can find, if you go to Abe Books, you'll sometimes find it at a reasonable price. And if you go to, if you really want a copy, you can also find it sometimes on eBay. If you get a chance to buy even a used version of it, if you want to, we all read Forrest's memoir, and you always had a feeling you were getting it straight from Forrest. That was, his memoirs were from his head. San Lazaro, and I'm sure these others like this, are from his heart, and you can actually sense the difference when you read them. So I strongly recommend. I don't suggest, like I said, these are I try not to be surprised when they say, "Oh, that'll be $203," but they're getting expensive. But they're beautiful books, and I hadn't heard that story. Cynthia's been playing. I didn't think of it, and now I'm measuring them. He was telling that woman that was I think she's Filipino, and she's interviewing him, and Cynthia has been playing those along with the videos that she's creating, and he mentions to her something like, I have 3 books or several books, and they're 10 by 10 inches, the same size as the chest. So I measured San Lazaro, 10 by 10 inches. This one, 10 by 10 inches. So I don't know whether that was his intent or what. The TP Smoke, the one about Joseph Sharp, is bigger. It's more like, I don't know. I'll have to measure it, but there's some 10 by 10s in there. Bless his heart. He always had these. I think one of the things I liked about him is he always had these. He reminded me of. There's a game called Spy Games, and it has these little things. He's very he ties things that you would never imagine. He's got this line of continuity. The treasure chest was 10 by 10. His books are 10 by 10. And he's got a whole bunch of things going. I miss it. As a matter of fact, I think it was 2 nights ago, I was up and I was watching stuff, and YouTube gave me the show that we did after he had passed, or Shelley and I were talking about it and showing pictures and things like that. And I swore I watched the whole thing all over again just to have those pleasant memories with him. Okay. Let me see. 2 sets of twins. Who were talking about having twins? Oh, no more twins. Oops, did that already. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. I finally fixed the, I take down the banner. I finally fixed the outro. So you should have a good outro for tonight. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the questions. If I missed any of them, just put them in the comments. I always go back to the comments after each show and try to answer any questions I have. So this week we have the hearing on Monday. So I'll try and get into that. I know that Mike and Christy will be doing their Monday show. So I won't do anything. Oh, I'm not going to do it Wednesday either. Here's why. We have a special guest on Wednesday. Dan Barbarisi will be joining me to talk about the revision to his book. So this coming Wednesday, Dan will be on the show and we'll be talking about his new book. I knew there was something special that we were doing. So maybe I'll go on. If nobody's on Tuesday, I'll come and we'll talk about the hearing. But I'm sure Mike and Christy will be talking about it on Monday night, because it is Monday morning and I believe it's a public hearing. So we should all be able to listen in. So maybe I'll even get time to transcribe it. So, but join me on Monday. I don't know. I know that Shelley is back on, I'm sorry, I said Monday. Shelley's back on Wednesday night, but I don't know if she's going to be back in time for the show. Is she? I don't know. But that's the night that Dan joins me. So we'll talk about his new, the revisions, the updated edition of his book. He can't get me one. As a matter of fact, his publisher hasn't released it yet. I may be able to get a Kindle by then. There are some pages up there now, but I'll just let him tell the story. So join us next Wednesday night, at least me, maybe Shelley, and Dan Barbarisi. Okay? God, I'm glad I see. When Shelley's not here, I don't remember anything. All right, you guys, have a good night. See you on Wednesday. We'll see what happens on Monday. And then, of course, next Friday, there'll be some motions of all kind, and I'll go up to Santa Fe and pick them up and stop by Wild Oven Bakery to get some chocolate croissant. All right? Love you guys.
Thank you for joining the conversation on News and Views, an AGK Media Studio livecast hosted by Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice. Please subscribe and leave a comment or question, and we'll consider your ideas for future shows. Share this show with your family and friends and invite them to become a member of our community. Check the show notes for links and resources, and please come back again next week.